If you traveled back 12,000 years, you'd probably die before the sun goes down. Survival wasn't a right, it was a daily, bloody lottery. But in the wilderness of Kenya, an early hominin picked up a stone, smashed it against another, and created the first sharp edge. This wasn't just a broken rock, it was the birth of technology. It was the start of the Stone Age.
Part 1. The Blunt Instrument. The Stone Age. This brutal epoch is split into 3 acts: the Paleolithic, the Mesolithic, and the Neolithic. In the Paleolithic, Homo erectus weaponized the ultimate element: fire. Fire meant warmth, protection from apex predators, and cooked food. It became humanity's first social hub. Driven by hunger and curiosity, Homo erectus marched out of Africa, spreading across Europe and Asia. By the time Homo sapiens emerged 300,000 years ago, our cognitive engines were redlining. In the dark caves of France, early humans painted complex murals of hunts and spirits. We weren't just surviving, we were thinking symbolically. When Homo sapiens clashed with the heavier, stronger Neanderthals, it wasn't brute force that won. It was communication, adaptability, and strategy. The Neanderthals vanished. We inherited the Earth. 12,000 years ago, the Ice Age collapsed. The climate shifted violently, forcing the transition into the Mesolithic era. Humans adapted by inventing the microlith. Tiny, razor-sharp stone fixed to wood and bone to create high-velocity arrows and spears. As communities settled near rivers, the dark side of humanity emerged. The first tribal wars began over resources. But the ultimate turning point came around 10,000 BC, the agricultural revolution of the Neolithic era. In the Fertile Crescent, China, and Mesoamerica, humans stopped running. We tamed the dirt, planting wheat, rice, and maize. We domesticated cattle and sheep. Food was no longer a chase, it was a harvest. Settlements exploded into mankind's first cities. In Turkey, the dense, streetless hive of Çatalhöyük was built. In the Levant, the massive defensive walls of Jericho rose to protect thousands. Population numbers surged, demanding the creation of laws, hierarchy, and governance. From pottery to the astronomical alignment of Stonehenge, the foundations of civilization were cast in stone. By 3000 BC, the primitive world was dead. The age of empires had begun. Part 2. Gods of the Forge. The Bronze Age. Around 3000 BC, humanity unlocked metallurgy. By smelting copper with tin, they forged bronze, a metal hard enough to reshape empires. The Bronze Age was born, defined by absolute rulers, written language, and systemic warfare. The epicenter was Sumer, in southern Mesopotamia. The Sumerians didn't just build cities, they invented cuneiform, the world's first writing system. It began as a ledger for grain and taxes, but quickly evolved into an instrument of law, science, and myth. From these mud brick metropolises came the Epic of Gilgamesh, humanity's oldest literary masterpiece, wrestling with mortality and the gods. To the west, Narmer unified Upper and Lower Egypt, forging an empire that would defy millennia. In the Old Kingdom, Egyptian pharaohs, worshipped as living gods, mobilized vast bureaucratic machines to construct the pyramids of Giza. Armed with advanced mathematics, engineering, and hieroglyphic script, Egypt became an unshakable superpower. Simultaneously, the Indus Valley civilization engineered highly advanced, hyper-organized grid cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, complete with sophisticated underground drainage systems. In China, the Shang dynasty consolidated power through a brutal feudal hierarchy, using sacred bronze vessels as symbols of absolute divine right. Out in the Aegean, the maritime Minoans ruled from the sprawling palace of Knossos, until the volcanic eruption of Thera crippled their civilization, leaving them open to conquest by the Mycenaeans, the heavily armored precursors to classical Greece. In 1274 BC, at the Battle of Kadesh, the Egyptian Empire under Ramesses II collided with the Hittite superpower in a massive, deafening clash of thousands of heavy chariots. The bloody stalemate resulted in the first recorded international peace treaty in history. Then, iron and tyrants, the Iron Age. From the ashes of the Bronze world rose an era forged in iron. Iron was script that dismantled the complex scribal monopolies of old. Further west, the Lydians revolutionized global economics by inventing minted coinage, replacing barter with a universal language of commerce. To the east, Cyrus the Great united the Medes and Persians, engineering the Achaemenid Persian Empire, the largest administrative juggernaut the world had yet seen. In Asia, iron was transforming the human mind. The Indian subcontinent entered the late Vedic period, establishing settled agricultural states, a rigid caste system, and the spiritual philosophy of the Upanishads. In China, the Zhou dynasty fractured into the chaotic, blood-soaked spring and autumn period. Yet, out of this endless warfare came the 100 schools of thought, giving birth to the foundational philosophies of Confucius and Laozi. In Europe, the Celtic Hallstatt and La Tène cultures dominated through masterful ironwork and fierce tribal warfare. By 500 BC, the Iron Forge had sharpened tribal kingdoms into massive continental empires. Part 4. The Crucible of Empires, the Classical Era. Between 500 BC and 500 AD, the Classical Era pushed human civilization to its absolute zenith, balancing brutal imperial expansion with foundational shifts in philosophy, law, and faith. The drama began in Greece. City-states like democratic Athens and the hyper-militarized oligarchy of Sparta united to achieve the impossible, repelling the massive Persian invasions at Marathon, Salamis, and Plataea. This victory sparked the Golden Age of Athens, where Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle laid the bedrock of Western philosophy. But Greek pride led to suicide. The Peloponnesian War shattered Greek unity, leaving the peninsula vulnerable to Philip of Macedon and his legendary son, Alexander the Great. Alexander executed the most brilliant military campaign in antiquity. In a few breathless years, he annihilated the Persian Empire, conquered Egypt, and marched to the edge of India, spreading Greek culture across 3 continents and birthing the Hellenistic world. Simultaneously, the Roman Republic overthrew its kings and engineered a complex government of checks and balances. Through tactical flexibility and relentless willpower, Rome conquered Italy and crushed its superpower rival, Carthage, in the Punic Wars. But hyper-expansion broke the Republic. Decades of civil war culminated in the rise of Octavian, who took the title Augustus, establishing the Roman Empire and the Pax Romana. Rome stretched from Scotland to Iraq, mastering concrete to construct the Colosseum, aqueducts, and roads that still stand today. This era of total empires was also the era of universal faiths. In India, Buddhism expanded across Asia, while the Han Dynasty in China built a massive, centralized meritocracy powered by Confucian ethics. In Judea, Christianity emerged. Despite horrific Roman persecutions, the faith swept through the empire. By 380 AD, Christianity transformed from an outlawed sect into the official state religion of Rome. But the imperial machinery eventually ran out of gas. Internal economic decay, corruption, and the relentless migration of Germanic tribes fractured the West. In 476 AD, the last Western Roman emperor was deposed by the barbarian warlord Odoacer. The eastern half, the Byzantine Empire, survived, but in the West, classical antiquity was dead. The world entered the Middle Ages. Part 5. The Iron Grid. The Medieval Era. From the ruins of the Western Roman Empire, Europe splintered into a dark, volatile jigsaw puzzle of competing Germanic kingdoms. The Franks emerged as the dominant force. Under King Clovis, they unified Gaul and forged a critical, long-term alliance with the Catholic Church. By the late 8th century, Charlemagne ascended the throne. A relentless warlord and administrator, Charlemagne conquered and unified Western Europe. On Christmas Day, 800 AD, the Pope crowned him Emperor of the Romans, founding the Holy Roman Empire, and sparking a vital revival of learning and culture known as the Carolingian Renaissance. But when Charlemagne's empire fractured among his heirs, Europe faced terrifying external invasions, from Viking longships and Magyar raiders. With no central government to provide protection, society collapsed into a highly localized military hierarchy: feudalism. Feudalism was a brutal grid of survival. The king sat at the top, carving up his realm into fiefs, land, for his lords. In exchange, lords swore absolute loyalty and promised to supply troops. Lords divided their land further, assigning it to knights, the elite, heavily armored cavalry who lived in fortified stone castles and held a monopoly on local violence. At the absolute bottom were the peasants and serfs. Bound legally to the soil under the manorial system, serfs could not leave, marry, or change trades without permission. They worked the fields, enduring back-breaking labor to hand over the vast majority of their harvest to the lord and his knights. In return, they bought exactly one thing: the right to run inside the castle walls when the raiders arrived. Controlled by the sword of the knight and the spiritual iron fist of the church, the medieval world ground forward, slowly baking the ingredients of the modern world in a furnace of fortified isolation. Comment below, how many hours do you think you'd survive if you went back to the Stone Age? Do you think modern humans are actually happier?